Okay, hi. I'm just going to wait a few minutes. I always think it hasn't been that long since I've done a live. It has been quite a while looking back on my live feed. I think the unboxing of Prince Vordry was the last one I actually did, which was, a little while ago. I'm just going to wait for my computer side to kind of catch up with it. And if anyone wants to join and stuff like that, we'll give people a chance to kind of, pop on and things like that. There it is, it's shown up, so I can do the introduction. Hi, my name's Rob, this is Cattle Rabbit Scale Model Studios. Today we're going to be looking at some new Space Wolf stuff. I do hope, you're all enjoying the releases. I like Space Wolves, I always have. They were my first ever Warhammer 40,000 army. Haldor Ice Pelt, I believe his name is, from, I think it was Tooth and Claw. The one with Gene Stealer Colts. Those were my first models. That's it doesn't seem that long ago. It's 8th edition, 8th, 7th, 8th, 9th, 6th. I don't even know anymore. But that's Dark Imperium. That was my first kind of foray into Warhammer 40,000. Before then, I just painted Stormcast and some Iron Jaws and stuff like that. So really excited for the Space Wolf stuff. I thought I would treat myself to some of them. Which I have done. They are cool. They're really lovely kits, actually. I do have some gripes with them, and I think some of them hold up a little bit better than others. So we are going to kind of go over that. I should probably lay down some housekeeping rules. So whether you're watching now, you're going to be part of the chat, or you're watching from the future. Today, it's July the 22nd, 2025. Be respectful. Opinions are subjective. Anything that might be said might not be there to hurt someone or poo-poo a product or something like that. It is important to note that rules do not matter to me, couldn't care any less, and looks-wise is very subjective. I might think a model looks awful, you might absolutely love it. I'm trying to be really impartial and constructive about the kit itself, and there's a lot I wanted to talk about. So just be aware of that type of thing, that just don't be a dickhead on the internet, you know what I mean? Especially, and I find it a lot and I see it a lot lately, and I am gonna briefly touch on it. People seem to be attacking smaller channels and stuff like that, and I think that's pretty rotten. People, they pour their heart and their soul into their work, and like myself, I've got an iPhone 14 just here, and I've got a little Chromebook, and that's what I do my editing on, and that's the whole thing. I do the whole thing myself. I work, job, father of two, house, that type of thing. I have a life outside of this. I enjoy doing this, so again, just be respectful in that kind of instance, and that spirit of community, if you will, or you're watching from the future. Also, don't get jumpy and be like, oh, you said this, because you know what, probably 20 minutes later we've spoken about it and now you look stupid because it just shows you haven't watched the full video. So watch the whole thing before you speak, if you're going to write sassy little comments, which I'll probably just block you for anyway. So there is that. Good housekeeping. Let's be respectful of everyone's opinions here and stuff like that. If there are any massive Space Wolf fans in chat, can you just pop up, because I got to admit I am a little bit out of touch with the Space Wolves. This was my codex, this bad boy right here. This was the last time that I bought a Space Wolf codex, so my knowledge of this stuff, and a lot of it is probably going to be tied to rules and things, so having someone in chat that knows about it, helpful. Or again, if you're watching from the future and there's an answered question, feel free to pop down and just solve that mystery if there is anything there. So I am just gonna wait the extra minute. I said 7 o'clock. It's 6:59 here, and then we'll start getting into the meat, why I'm actually doing this video, and things like that. I think it's definitely obviously, if you are watching and you are in chat, don't be shy, say hello. It all goes for, helps out the channel and the live, and more people can see it, and that is definitely the type of there we go. I've got my little countdown notification. That's where we are. It's 7 o'clock. Right, so Space Wolves, obviously everyone knows this channel. Dark Angels, I love Dark Angels. I think they are a really good chapter. I think they're a really beginner friendly chapter. I think they're really There's a lot you can do with them. I like Space Wolves. They are a unique flavour. So what I did, obviously, much like, you know, a lot of people, really like the new Space Wolf models. So I trekked myself to this Battle Leader. How well we can see that just there. It's a lovely model. The new sculpt on this guy is really cool. I had an absolute blast painting this guy up. He went for a lovely bright. I was a little bit worried it'd be striking. What are they called? Red Scorpions with the yellow kind of. I always mistake them for Space Wolves. I thought it'd be like that, but you know what? It got a lot of, you know, positive feedback and stuff, and you know, I really enjoyed just painting a Space Wolf again. They're great models. They've got a lot of character. Who doesn't like Space Vikings? Come on now. So we'll just stick them over there for the minute. Really cool. So I thought what I would do is I would order myself some bits. Again, it's important to know I bought these out of my money. These weren't provided by anyone. I actually got these from Goblin Gaming. I've got the sticker to prove it. Really like the Wolf Priest. Thought the pose was really cool on it, so I thought I'd grab that. Really like the idea of the head takers. Just a little something, you know, a battle leader, some head takers, a priest, maybe, you know, a few extra little bits down the line. But I think after these two kits, I will probably just, you know, stop for the minute. Otherwise it just becomes another obsession, and it's another Space Marine army that I just don't need. I haven't got room for it. But a couple of odd little models. There we go. We'll look at the Wolf Priest first. Again, the pose is cool. I think a lot of people fell in love with this kind of cool skull hooded wolf helmet. Obviously the black armor, much like the chaplains and stuff like that. And then flipping them over, we've got a choice of heads, which is kind of cool. He does get a choice of like offhand weapons. You can have the pistol, or you can have this weird little dagger. Again, if there's anyone in the chat that knows about this type of stuff, to me this looks like one of the little daggers that the plague bearers carry. So I didn't know if that was something. I know Logan Grimnar has an axe that used to be from a corn demon, if I remember correctly. So I was wondering if this was something. If anyone can answer what that is, the instructions, not much help. And I haven't got the new codex or anything like that. Probably, in all honesty, won't pick it up. But a choice of heads, choice of offhand weapons, and that's kind of it for this one. It is very much what you expect it to be. I think kits like this are good for what they are, and they're nice painters pieces, especially for like what I am planning on doing with it. We will look at the sprue is just here. Obviously, he does come on a 40mm base, so he's a big boy. And if we look at the sprue now, I did notice that a lot of the new stuff on the Games Workshop website, they don't actually show you the sprues anymore, which really annoys me, because it's really handy to know, you know, what you're getting and things like that. So the cape itself goes in two halves, which is quite nice, and obviously he's got his little special scepter, which is kind of cool. Very akin to chaplains and stuff like that, with the paneling between the legs and stuff like that. And then you've got a choice of his dagger or the pistol, which I really like the bolter pistol, and I will probably have mine like that. Head wise, his head actually sits in this kind of like hooded sleeve section that goes round his, like the collar, which is, I've never seen that before. I don't know if it's on any of the other Space Wolf stuff, but I've never noticed it before. Obviously your choice of 3 heads. I'm definitely going to go for the old man bald one. I think that's quite a good sculpt there. I think maybe like if I could get my hands on a Judicia, maybe something like that would look good on that. Oh, I don't know, maybe. Anyway, I'm thinking way ahead. He's got, and I always like to point these out, 5 revision stamps. So, you know, it's fairly average for most Games Workshop kits. And it is a 2025 kit. So not many options. We'll have a quick look at the instructions together. There isn't much to him. The only options you get, obviously, are the heads. Now, if you're going to go for a helmetless head, you have to use that weird little kind of collar that I was talking about, because the bald heads, or the helmetless heads, should we say, it's better. Nothing against bald people. Hell, I'm going that way. It obviously fills it out a little bit where the hood. So it's quite a clever little design kind of bit there that they've actually put like almost like a bung to kind of put the head and pack it out so it doesn't look too small or sit down too low. So, you know, it's quite a, you know, kind of a little kit in that regards, because you'd never use those bits if you didn't. And do you know what? If you use the wolf head, I bet you any money this would actually fit just like a normal Primaris, because I do believe the inside of his actual armour is the normal kind of sculpted, which it is. He doesn't have much of a collar, I will say that, because obviously you've got the he's got like these teeth and stuff like that along, just going along. Atomic Murph, yes, how are you? Oh my god, look, Rob, you dingbat, the chat's down there. There we go. Yo, sorry, I missed that. Yo, how are you? Thank you very much for joining us today. I've got it up, but because now chat starts from the bottom, not from the top. It's weird, YouTube. It's quite clever. Again, not too sure about the little dagger. Not very, I don't know, I'd say wolf-like, but maybe I'm a bit out of touch here. Goes together as you would expect. Body goes in two halves, legs, then the shin pad goes on. You have to put this kind of leg on first, and then you've got the walking leg. He's on two little kind of like rock things, so he's got a little bit of elevation. And then choice of arms, his little decorations go on his neck here, and then you actually put his cape round him, which is quite nice, because obviously it lets you paint all the details first. I would probably paint it up to this part here, and then I would put these two bits on. I'd probably paint them separately and then join them together. Shoulder pads go over each arm, then the backpack, and then the head goes on last. Not much to him. Great Tuesday. Oh, look at the chats there. Do you remember his audio crackling? A known issue. Am I too near the mic? I do apologise. I've had to move some stuff around. I've actually got to be out of this room by the end of the year, so I'm gonna be building something in my garden to give me a bit of a dedicated studio, as my youngest is now 9. Well, my eldest and my youngest do enjoy sharing a room. She's kind of getting to that age where she wants a room, so the studio is going to go, and you know, so I need to downsize everything. So I've been getting rid of loads of stuff. I do apologise if the audio is a bit crap. It is off of my phone speaker. So first time actually. In all honesty, I haven't been on that much knee wise for 14 months. I had a really odd fractured knee that took ages to be spotted. So you know, I've been doing physio. Physio's getting really easy, so it's definitely healing. I'm feeling really good. You know, I'm walking a lot more and stuff like that. So I'm definitely a lot better than what I was. I kind of just haven't felt like doing much, I got to admit. Right now I've got 800 point Krieg Army. Sorry. Ooh, oh, a Firstborn Dark Angus, very nice. From Dark Vengeance, I was stripping about 30 models and 8 of them were from 3rd edition. Distance issue, but it's minor, don't worry. Okay, well, let's see if it sorts itself out. It might be a bit of an iffy connection. I've said to it before, when it rains here, my internet just goes bye-bye. And although we are in the middle of summer, we've had a bit of a wet spell, shall we say, and it's been torrential here. We've actually had yellow weather and amber weather warnings in London. Where I am, Greater London, I'm just on the outskirts, so it has been really bad. So I do apologise in advance if there is any crackling or issues with, you know, the audio. Do apologise. Completely forgot where I am. I'm here, right? That's it. Yes. Very cool. So you get 2 helmetless options, and you get the cool skull helmet option. Nice. I like this figure. I like it for what it is. From Goblin Gaming, I paid £20 for this. They've got a little bit of discount. They always do that. It's nothing that I get, like, you know, in particular. It's just when I order bits, I order it from Goblin Gaming. £20. I thought that was a pretty good price for a HQ. Okay, there's, you know, a few options. He does get the weird dagger. Again, if anyone could enlighten me about that. Do you know what, Murph? I'm not. I'm going to go for the beard helmet. This guy here, I'm going to go for, as I really, really like this guy. But yeah, you know, I would say £20 is probably about right. You know, I know Games Workshop prices have gone up recently. I do firmly believe that £20 for a single model, a HQ, while, you know, in comparison to what people paid in the 90s and things, I would say that's fair. Because I do understand that although I don't play the game and I'm not that interested in rules and things like that, you are paying a certain amount for the abilities, how good it is, the points, that type of thing. Whereas I look at it at face value of I look at it as a singular thing because I don't play, because I'm not interested in rules. It's the sprue that I look at. Is that sprue worth £20? And I think, do you know what? I'm quite happy with £20 for this guy. It might seem a little bit harsh. I got the head takers that are just next to me. I think I paid £32 for those. When you think, well, for £12 more, you've got another 5 figures. Yes. And one of the reasons why I went for the head takers and not someone like Grimnar that was a similar price is I get 6 models instead of 3 models. I look at Grimnar's 3 models because he's got the 2 walls and he's a big old boy. So, you know, I think this is a good kit. He looks cool. Aesthetic, once again, I think they've nailed the new Space Wolf stuff. Really, really like it. I'm going to stop waffling about the Wolf Priest because what I really wanted to do was talk about the head takers. Now, at first glance, I love the way these guys look. And don't make me tap the sign again. This is purely subjective. I look at it as what they look like because I don't use them to play games and I'm not interested in rules or, you know, not even being that lore accurate. So I thought for £32 I paid for these, again, from Goblin Gaming. I'm not plugging them or anything like that. That's just who I buy stuff off of when I buy stuff. You know, I always think they're pretty cheap. They do a good postal service. Never really had an issue with them. They're a good group of guys. I spoke to them on the phone a few times. They added things to an order. Brilliant. You know, really, really cool. So at first glance, I thought this would be quite cool. You know, some proper Vikings, axes, you know, shields. Much like my guy here, I quartered the shield, you know, make it look a bit Viking-y. I thought, oh yeah, you know, I've got 3 more opportunities to do that. Plus the walls. I did paint up some the Wolf Rider Gits from Age of Sigmar. Everyone was asking how I did the wolf fur. So, you know, it's an opportunity for a tutorial, that type of thing. There's lots of fur. That's a good tutorial. I've gone for a more grey armour as opposed to a blue. That's a good tutorial. So when I kind of buy stuff myself, I'm looking at what I can chop up and turn into, I say content, but what do I think is cool enough to show people? Because obviously these videos, I'm one guy with a job, with kids, you know, that type of thing again. It takes a lot of time. So doing like a video on armour is going to be like a week's worth of work because, you know, evenings, and that's without parenting or cooking or, you know, walking a dog or just doing stuff in general. So I was really excited for this one. I think I was a little bit more excited for this one than I was the Wolf Priest, but I do think that's changed. I really want to talk about why. Now, flipping it over, and one thing that I noticed straight away is that you are seeing a lot of these. We saw with the Blood Angels, got the Death Company guys. Obviously Dark Angels got companions. These guys got the 3. And at first glance, you think, well, you get 3 models and then you get 3 other models. So you should actually get 6 in a box. You know, it's got that similar kind of feel to it, like the companions, like the Death Company type. Like I forget what Blood Angels got. You know, I'm hoping for a bit of bang for my buck here because, you know, I paint and, you know, that's kind of, you know, what I want. And then I opened the box up and I was initially a little bit, I say disappointed. Again, not with the aesthetics of the models. Let me just check the comment. I really have a Space Wolves person. Scandinavian descent. I can say really hit spot these guys. Show some more chainmail. They look active. Honestly, Murph, I think that the look of the new models, Grimnar, the Terminators, I like the big Terminator Sergeant. I think I'm gonna, if I do get him, see that you got me thinking now. The claws, the big wolf pelt. I love it. They're more and more looking like the artwork, and I think that's spot on. Sangrini Guard, that's the one. Murph, legend, thank you very much. So yeah, and I do, you know, like aesthetic wise, I like these. But now in the box you obviously get your free 40 mils. They're big boys again, they're on 40 mils. You do get and I did have them here for your wolves. I think these are 35 by 70 60s. You know, you get the ovals. Okay, cool, nice. Yeah. You do get one of the new transfer sheets, which is great because they've got some of the more obscure, you know, houses which we never had. I put the instructions away the other day because I tidied up, but normally you used to kind of just get these and that was it. Now we've got Champions of Fenris, which I believe is Grimnar's company, I believe. The Bloodmaws, the Spirit Wolves, and the Death Wolves, you know, and then we get, you know, a load of vehicle markings, saga markings, Saga of the Wolf, that type of thing, all the Velka, Fenrika, that type of stuff. It's cool, you know. It's a nice, much like the Dark Angels transfer sheet. Love it. You get a lot of it, and I like all these odd ones, you know, these more obscure ones. I like seeing the more obscure ones get a bit of representation, definitely. And then moving over to the kind of sprues itself. Again, detail fantastic, but you notice straight away that there's an actual fact. There's, and you can see it here, there's 1, 2, 3 axes, and there's 1, 2, where's the third one? 3 shields and shield arms, and then there's 1, 2, 3 sword arms, and that's it. There aren't any options for posing. There aren't any options to kind of mix and match the swords with the other arms. There's not another option for you to maybe just have the axe in a different pose or anything like that. And I think that's a bit of a shame. The companions had a couple of options. I believe the Sangrini Guard had a couple of options. But these are, you either have them with a axe and shield or axe and sword, and that's it. Now you do get, which I think is really, really weird, and they actually, when I was looking through this, what I tend to do is I go on Games Workshop, I look at the pictures and stuff like that, and I go, oh, you know, I kind of like that. Very rarely do I read about the unit, because I go off of what I think looks quite cool and stuff like that. I'm just going to put it up here on my little tiny computer, Games Workshop. So bear with me because I can't see the chat just yet. Let's just pop these over here. Yep. We accept. Let's go to new releases. The head takers. And I thought this was a little bit of a rare excerpt here, that they make a point of telling you this on the website. So it says, each head taker can be armed with a pair of master-crafted power weapons or equipped with a master-crafted power weapon and storm shield. The kit includes a choice of 9 different heads, 3 helmeted and 6 bare, making it easy to add character to your head takers. To me, that is a bit of an odd excerpt, because you would notice a model in the exact same pose before you noticed it had a different head. And I think that something's gone a little bit not iffy, but it seems a shame that, you know, when you look at things like the blade guard, they had a few arm options for different poses. Just having the axe down, up on one body can completely change the orientation of this. And this is something that I've spoken about in loads of my videos, loads of my kit bashing videos. Just having a second option would have really been, you know, a really, really nice thing. Or just having the ability to mix and match the arms with each body. So we've got this guy kind of walking forward here, and he's got a very unique arm. Whereas this guy, he's got his arm outstretched. If you were able to put that arm on this body, now I get why they haven't done it, because obviously the sculpted fur is a big kind of, you know, it's something to deal with. It's a shame that they just didn't give that extra kind of, even if the hand stayed the same, and we've seen it before where you have to glue the hand with the weapon on, even if they just give you the arm from the shoulder to the wrist, maybe like an extra one so you could change the posing on it, it would be better. Now, I don't know if anyone in chat has these kits already. You know, how interchangeable are they? Have you tried? If you're watching, you know, this, you know, on catch up later on or something, do let me know. Is this something that you've been able to kind of remedy? I can imagine if you've got maybe like a couple of squads of these, okay, maybe helmeted ones might be, you know, initially, I'll say, look a bit different. I don't think it would. You know, have you gone to any lengths to try and change this? It just seems a little bit disappointing. When you open up the actual, you can see that we get a choice of the heads here. Again, nice that we get all these head options, but then when everything goes, you know, you either have that arm or you have the sword arm. This doesn't change, because obviously the fur is lifted up with their little capes and stuff like that. Same again, you either have the sword or you have the shield. And then same again for the last one, we have either the sword or the shield. Obviously, I'm probably going to go with the shield. It would have been nice maybe if it was an option to maybe have a shield and a sword instead of a shield and an axe. Maybe that could have been another option. Maybe always have the, I don't know. It's a bit difficult. Having said that, on the flip side of things, you do get your walls with it. So it's a little bit, you do get a bit more, you know, for it, because you're actually getting 6 models. You know, you're also getting your free hunting wolves, not Fenrisian wolves, hunting wolves, which are really, really cool. Which is, you know, it feels like you're getting a little bit more substantial, even though with the shortcomings of the actual kit. Again, nothing about the aesthetics, nothing about the rules. I don't know whether these are good or not in game, and I'll be honest with you, it doesn't really concern me whether they are or aren't. I very much go with what looks cool and things like that. So that I wanted to talk about that, because I felt like this is probably like one of the, as a specialist unit, you've got your Bloodclaws, you've got Grey Hunters, you've got these which are new, which are really unique looking, and they seem to be the most like basic kit out of the new range, which is a little bit disappointing. Do let me know your feelings on it. Like, are you happy with this? Are you happy to have maybe, you know, 9 of these on the battlefield and 3 lots of 3 looking exactly the same, which is different heads? Or, you know, do you share this gripe? Obviously, I always think extra bits always better, because kit bashing, absolutely lovely. Aside from how they go together, stuff like that, fine. You know, walls are walls. A lot of the fur looks like it's going to hide a lot of the seam lines. Just make sure you're trimming those nubs and stuff like that. And then that is it. So while I do like the head takers and I am looking forward to painting them up, I think I'm a little bit initially disappointed that there just isn't an extra set of arms, or a little, you know, maybe something else that you could just do with them, which is a touch of a shame. Just looking at the kit itself, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We actually have 7 revision stamps on this one, so these were a little bit more problematic. You seem to notice the ones that are around about 7, 8, 9 tend to be the ones that are obviously, that you can spot the ones that held up production, if you will. But that's that's where they are. I will put up some pictures of the sprues before I build them on my community posts, just for they're a reference so people can see them, as I know they're not on the Games Workshop website. I feel like the walls need a vehicle upgrade sprue, but allows you to add some customization to Land Raiders, Repulsors, Rhinos. It would be nice if you could get some decorative shields to maybe like go along the sides, some wolf pelts that just are generically draped. The problem is when you go into like it's that angle, that slope. I don't know whether they're all nominal, so having something draped over. I might look at learning to sculpt a little bit of fur, because I think if you are going to be doing things like Grey Hunters, which are, I don't say basic, but they, you know, we've gone from having battle leaders and head takers and wolf priests with all lovely sculpted fur around their necks and stuff like that, to just blood claws, which are, you know, like assault marines, you know. But they're starting to do this kind of, there's no knee pad on the leg here, which is a bit of a shame. Even this guy, I will say, you could build him with a pistol or a shield, and then a sword or an axe, and you got a choice of 3 heads, and that was just a battle leader. So I do think there's, you know, definitely they can do it. They can do it. I just think, you know, I don't want to call it laziness. I don't want to call it bad design, because I'm sure these go together really smart, and they do hide a lot of seam lines and stuff like that. It's just that lack of options, I think, slapped me a little bit when I first opened the box, and I was a little bit kind of like, oh, okay, so I'm just building them exactly as, you know, they are on the box. So really, why, for someone that doesn't play and isn't, you know, worried about having loads of these if they're really good and stuff like that, why would I buy more? Well, I wouldn't, because I wouldn't want the poses to repeat. I might look at kit bashing some of these. I don't know if I can do much with them. I did initially think maybe on the Wolf Priest. The gun, the big old pistol, I really like, but I thought maybe of changing this arm to a bit of a sword, I think might look quite cool. We'll see. We'll see which way the wind blows with what I've got left. Now, overall, I really like the new Space Wolf stuff. Am I lying to myself? Am I probably going to pick up some more of these? I think if I'm in the zone, yes, I will. You could probably replace these guys that repair the fur with some green stuff. See, that's my initial kind of thought. I wonder if I could chop some of that fur away to put another arm in, and then green stuff over. The only thing I will say to that is when you spend, and you got to remember, these would have been, I didn't pay this for them, I paid £32, but they would be £40 from Games Workshop, I believe. Hang on, I've got it up here. £42.50. Should you have to do that? No, absolutely not. If you're going to charge a premium for a kit, £42 for 6 models. Again, I've just said that, you know, I believe £20 for a HQ is good value. £42 for the 6. Yeah, okay, take that with a pinch of salt, or either way. But I do think you shouldn't really have to. It's like when you hear people Forge World, they go, oh, you know, Forge World, oh, it's okay, just, you know, soak it in some hot water, and, you know, okay, but if you're going to spend like £1,000 on a Titan, I ain't soaking nothing. You're going to send me a replacement, and it better be spot bollock, because otherwise, you know, we're going to be doing this song and dance for a long time. When you charge a premium for something, and these are, you know, in the grand scheme of things, that they're high-end kits, they're good quality plastic, they're good to work with. You know, kit bashing, it's a joy to work with Games Workshop kits, whether you like the model or not, subjective, blah blah blah. But I do think if you are going to charge people money for it, then there needs to be an element of accountability of what they should be doing with their kit, or be, you know, that type of thing, if that makes sense. What I'm waffling about there, but I do think that's yes, I've heard green stuff in Milliput. They call it something. I've heard people like, it's like a smush of the words. It's supposed to be really, really good. I've been using some Milliput lately. I built my guy up a bit more of a base, as you can see here. and I added some rocks. I'll be doing this for all of them. And he's obviously got a nice Eshin grey rim there. Sometimes they just write themselves. Again, I can show people how I made these bases. They're a lot of fun. Obviously there is an element of waiting, because obviously you have to wait for the milliput to dry, but again, they do look, you know, really, really cool. So look, that's what I thought. Out of all of them, what's your favourite Space Wolf kit? What's your new kit? Anything that you've gone, do you know what? Yes. Like, at first I was a little bit sad that Grimnar's lost his little boat, but I think the way he looks now it's like something out of the artwork, and I absolutely love it. So I'm not too fussed. I would have maybe liked the Grey Hunters and the Bloodclaws to maybe just be a touch more wolfier. But other than that, I like Arjak. I love the Battle Leader. I think the Battle Leader was such a fun model to paint up and work with and play around with. 100%. Head Takers, again, aesthetically, look-wise, I think they look great. I'm not going to expect any more from them. The Wolf Priest, love Arjak, fantastic. The Terminators, obviously spoke about them earlier, they look really, really cool. I like the new revised transfer sheet again. I think that is super cool. I like them. I like what they're doing here, and I do hope that we see a lot of the Space Marine Legions get this type of love. Obviously, I know we've just had the big reveal, and Lysander's coming back, Vulcan, Hastan. We got the White Scars guy on his new bike, which I think is really, really cool. The Raven Guard guy, again, really, really cool looking model. I think you're going to see a lot of people doing, you know, painters pieces. I think the only one for me, the Iron Hands, I wasn't too enamored with, but then I've never really been an Iron Hands kind of fan. I don't really know about them or anything like that. So it's not that I don't like it, I just don't know enough about them to appreciate maybe the flares and stuff like that. But I would like to see a little, just, we've gone through this stage. If everyone gets a codex and everyone gets a new, you know, dare I say, disposable HQ. Whereas what I would like to see is, I would rather wait longer for, you know, like we saw with the Dark Angels, we got new Deathwing, we got new Belial, we got the Lion, we got Companions. You know, there was a lot of cool stuff. Like, I would rather wait longer and get some new units, some new redone HQs and stuff like that. I do hope, and it's quite controversial, I'd like to see what the Ultramarines get. I hope the Ultramarines get something similar. I think that would be really, really cool. Although I do find that they, aside from Calgar and obviously Guilliman, they do seem to get the short end of the stick, because everything can be painted up in Ultramarine chapters, whereas they lose that kind of almost like Roman-esque flair that they have with it, which is, you know, a touch of a shame. I'd like to see the Imperial Fists get something. I'd love to see the Raptors get a box with some characters. Will we? I'm not sure, but it would be really, really cool to see. Even if they got, you know, Lysander, like Imperial Fist got Lysander, and then a Codex supplement, just to add a little bit of flavour to them, I think would be really good. Again, we saw that in 8th edition? 8th? I'm sure it is. Would be really, really cool. I would rather wait longer and see, you know, get them more. It's always important to remember, and I know people do like to moan about Space Marines, but there's no such thing as a Space Marine. You don't go, this is my army, it's Space Marine. It's not, it's Space Wolf, it's Dark Angel, it's a Imperial Fist, it's your successor chapter. One Space Marine will represent 1,000 different chapters, successors, homebrew, you know, chapters. So the beauty of the Space Marine, I think, is untold. And what you got to remember a lot with Space Marine, especially as a piece, is it props up the majority of Games Workshop's IP. Whether you like a generic intercessor or not, that's the truth of it at the end of the day. I think the new Death Watch Kill Team got some sculpted raptors and shoulder pads. After it releases, you could probably find a bunch on eBay. I did see on the reveal there was a raptor shoulder pad. Nice, but until they do a proper upgrade sprue. Oh, that was the other thing I wanted to talk about, is The only thing I am annoyed that the Space Wolves didn't get is they didn't get a big bumper upgrade sprue. And I do hope we see something like that be released. The new Dark Angels one was fantastic. I don't know whether the Blood Angels got one. I'm not sure. But having that, you know, that sprue of bits, oh my God, it can just add so much to kits, you know, and just, you know, really just wolf it up. So I'm a little bit gutted that they didn't initially get an upgrade sprue. Maybe we'll see one released later down the line. I hope we do. I know they have a Firstborn upgrade sprue and a Primaris upgrade sprue, but to me it's those little ones, which are great, you know, but they can work out quite expensive if you're doing whole armies and you need multiple bits, unless you're willing to, and I'm not telling anyone to do this because, you know, but if you are gonna, you know, make castings of bits to save yourself money and stuff like that, it becomes a time lengthy process, and it becomes another hobby within a hobby for you to do your hobby. So I wouldn't say I'm against stuff like that, but I do think there is the actual deep down, you know, the reality of it's all well and good going, oh, just recast it, that's fine, but then you're going into another side of it, like with 3D printing. 3D printing is a hobby within a hobby for a hobby. So, you know, I know quite a few people that do 3D printing. Josh, my buddy Josh, 3D prints, and the amount of times that I've asked him to do stuff, he's had problems with his printer or resin or, you know, that type of thing. He's got the curing station, he's got all the cool stuff. His prints come out absolutely just stunning. But again, it's a hobby within a hobby, and it's a, you know, it's a big time sink in that regard. So, you know, there is that. I do wish they would have got a mandatory upgrade sprue. That would have been really, really cool. But yeah, I do hope we see more Space Marine stuff. Like I said, all models are cool models. Not every model is going to be for you. Not every model is going to be for me. However, you know, it is going to be for someone, and I think you should appreciate that. That, you know, somewhere deep down, that's going to be someone's first model, and they're going to absolutely love that. And I always think that's a really, really important thing to remember. That, you know, whether you like something or not, someone will, because it's subjective. So definitely done rambling with that one. So yeah, Space Wolves, love them, think they're great. Gonna paint some up, I'll put them up. I will be doing some tutorials on them and stuff like that. I will show chat just one more thing, as I have finally pulled my finger out, and I know we started it on Painting Lives, just to shoehorn a Dark Angel in. I did get the first of the Lion's Guard finally completed. This is the Dark Angels, or Green Angels, as I know they're affectionately called. I left one of the shoulder pads blank, as I weren't sure what I wanted to put on it, but he is completed. This was one of the kit bashed ones that we did live, and then we painted him up live. I got about half of him done. I finished the other half on Sunday morning and just got him finished. There he is. That's the first of the Lion's Guard. Next one will be the Deathwing, which I believe we made the captain of the Lion's Guard, and then we got the Raven Wing with that really, really cool epic shield that we sculpted, which was really, really good fun. So there we go. Look, that is it. If anyone has any last minute questions before I shoot off and well, go and walk the dog probably before it absolutely tips it down, do let me know. Anything I can comment on, talk about, I will. If not, I'm just gonna skedaddle, and we'll call it there. So I'll give it just a, wow, 44 minutes. Jesus, I was like, 20 minutes, in and out, we're done. And now all of a sudden, 44 minutes later, that's where we are. So again, oh, hang on, let me scroll down. Have I moved up a bit? No, we're fine. Let's go all the way down. Would anyone be interested in seeing me paint some of the Space Wolf stuff up on a live? Great quick stream. Can't understand why the sprue pictures are not shared on these stuff. Timu, I know, it aggravates me so much. I think seeing these, that the sprues on the website lets you plan kit bashes, any particular parts that you're after. It's why you don't post no sprue. I don't get it. So, what do you think? A really cool another squad for the Dark Angels? I would really like to see Dark Angels. A Dark Angel specific anything I think would be really, really good. I do think they should, Games Workshop should look at, or at least entertain the idea of an upgrade kit for Dreadnoughts. Let's face it, they can do it with Knights. We've seen the Chaos Knight get what, 3 revisions now. Even in AOS, the Sons of Behemat, it's the same model, and they have now managed to make, you know, named characters by adding extra bits into the kit. They can do it. I just don't understand why they don't. But I would love to see kits to flavour your tanks, Dreadnoughts, that type of thing. You know, Outriders, I think would be a really, really good way of not only getting people interested in that generic kit where you go, it's free Space Marines and free bikes. You go, okay, I can take that. Yeah, but if you buy this and all, they're now free Wolfguard biker boys. I don't know. You know, that type of thing would be just absolutely, you know, where I would want them to be. So yeah, I definitely think, you know, rather than have a specific Dark Angels kind of unit, I would like to see maybe like an upgrade sprue for the bigger stuff, not just the Space Marines. The bigger bits would definitely be yeah, definitely what I would like to see. And really, they could do that for a lot of other factions. You know, not just Space Marines. You know, down to the Xenos and Chaos stuff. You know, you could do it. Yeah, that's my thoughts on that. Anything else, or is chat satisfied? Yes, I was just going to say, if you want to do some painting things, I can pop on a live and let me know if you'd be interested in seeing it live, or I can just do the little short form videos. As someone that, you know, does YouTube, or maybe doesn't take it so seriously, I don't earn a lot from videos, but I do earn more from short form videos that are watched a lot than I do from live videos. So obviously it's better in my interest. However, they do take a while to kind of, you know, tally up and make a little bit of money here and there. I think I make about 70p a day now from YouTube, so big spender. That's why I'm on the Yorkshire Gold tee. But that's it. So look, I am going to call it there. I'm going to leave it there. Thank you to everyone that has popped in. Again, let me know what you think. If you're watching from the future, let me know what you think. Any solutions to the problem of the arms, let me know. All great to hear different ideas and different kind of thoughts and how other people are going to be fixing, I wouldn't say fixing, but working a way around it. But yeah, so look, that's it from me. I'm sorry, you know, life gets in the way and stuff like that. People are always telling me, Rob, put your health first. I put my health first, and what happens? People unsubscribe. So, you know, I'm never gonna worry about that type of thing. But also at the same time, it's nice to see your channel grow in a capacity. You know, it's nice to know that people are, you know, you've got your Atomic Mirth, Timu, people that do pop in and, you know, are regulars of the channel. You know, thank you very much for your continued support. It's nice. It generally is nice. It's a nice community that I've built up around here. And that's it. So look, that is it from me in this one. If you're just watching, blah, 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 please do like and subscribe. Helps out the channel, pushes me out into the algorithm and stuff like that. And you get a new voice on products and stuff like that. Whereas, you know, it's not the the usual faces flawlessly, not making mistakes. I always say I am the average hobbyist. I'm for the average hobbyist because, you know, I get excited for Warhammer. I get disappointed with Warhammer. I do, you know, that type of thing. So I'm there. So look, again, thanks for all stopping by. I will see you all in the next one. Hopefully it won't be so long. God bless, take care, and thanks for watching.